this is the thing that settles it, right?
Yep.
One man's walking out of here without any doubt about who the greatest wrestler of the world is. And this, like you said, could go all night, could go till tomorrow.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Season 2.
And my jaw is still on the floor.
Welcome to the premiere of Season 2. We are 20 matches in. We have 80 matches to go. We're going to do them all right now.
There we go. Buckle up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long one, folks.
Yeah, you know, so excited. We loved doing the season 1 recap with you guys, where we did make a change to the list, right? We enjoyed the season 1 highlights episode we were able to get out there for you, and the Thanksgiving trivia episode. So now that that's all out of the way, we are back and better than ever for our season 2 premiere. And man, oh man, did we pick a good one to come back with.
Oh, it's magic.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okada, Omega.
Osaka.
Oh, so
That
good.
was good. That was really good.
Oh, I practiced this.
Before we get there, just a couple of quick shout-outs that we've had over the break. Retrospecticus, thank you so much for becoming a Slammy Award winner on Patreon. Super excited to have you. And at BH the Messiah on Twitter tweeted at us recently and said, started listening to Last Match Cast at work today. Really enjoyable podcast. Would recommend listening to it.
Hey.
How nice is that?
Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, it always feels good to know that, people are listening, first of all.
Yeah.
And are enjoying it. So really appreciate that. And hey, if you have a match you'd like to hear, let us know. I mean, this match that we're doing today is actually a listener suggestion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Paul, you're absolutely right. How weird is it that hopefully that helps his workday go by a little quicker, listening to the three of us jaw about some of the best matches ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in today's match, we were recommended this one very early on, and we were like, oh, I don't know, this is really, really soon. Well, then we watched it, and no, it's not too soon.
Never too soon.
Never too soon.
Nope, no such thing. So today, from June 9th, 2018, from Osaka-jo Hall in Osaka, Japan, at NJPW Dominion, Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, 2 out of 3 falls for the IWGP Heavyweight
Most
Championship.
importantly, no time limit.
That's correct.
Yeah, and we'll get into why that's relevant here. But can we just talk about Kenny Omega? And we'll talk about both of these guys, because both of these guys are phenomenal athletes, phenomenal competitors, and they tell arguably the greatest story ever told in a wrestling ring in this match.
It's up there.
Normally, I like to play devil's advocate, but I can't. I can't like sit here and say, "Oh well, no, they didn't," like, because they did. They really, really did.
Well, I think it's certainly you'd have to say the greatest story, at least this century. You would think of the last 19 years. This is more than likely the
easy
pinnacle.
I mean, this is like Flair and Steamboat. If Flair and Steamboat were like, Steamboat was athletic, but imagine if both men.
Shots fired.
Well, Ric Flair broke his back and he still wrestled for 35 plus years. So imagine if this is like Ricky Steamboat if Ric Flair was never in a plane accident and was still like this incredible athlete that he was supposedly before the plane crash.
And they did poison Ranas.
Yeah. Multiple poison Ranas.
Okay, so Kenny Omega, one of the most decorated athletes ever to not accept a WWE contract.
Just in general, probably. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Omega grew up watching WWF Saturday Night's Main Event. And he also played ice hockey a whole lot as a goalie, which is fun to think about.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, growing up in Winnipeg, Manitoba,
Makes sense.
Is where Chris Jericho also grew up.
He's from Winnipeg, you idiot.
So, I mean, Omega's always going to be an athlete, right?
Yeah.
He was destined to be so. But he started becoming interested in a career in professional wrestling after one of his friends from, oh man, I'm going to slay this.
Oh, boy.
Transcona Collegiate Institute. Began training with the Top Rope Championship Wrestling. So that's over in Winnipeg. You know, Canada is a wrestling-rich part of town. If we have any Canadian listeners, please let us know, because, I mean, wrestling is just appreciated over there.
Yeah, man. And, you know, you think about some of the best events in
Right?
wrestling history have happened in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those are on the list already.
Yeah, and more will be added.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And to our Canadian listeners, go Habs.
So Omega actually ended his ice hockey career plans whenever he met the TRCW promoter Bobby J while he was working at a grocery store. So people, Kenny Omega was working at a grocery store stacking shelves.
That was my first job, bro.
So everybody think about that. Like, wherever you are in life, whatever you're doing, you have potential. If Kenny Omega can start his career stacking stuff at a grocery store and end up being the athlete that he is, you can too. That's just what I want to say about that.
Landon, I needed that pep talk.
You know, it blows my mind when you think about it.
Well, when I was wrestling, I was a meat clerk, so hey.
There you go.
See, it can happen.
In 2001, Omega debuted in the Winnipeg-based promotion Premier Championship Wrestling. Working the independent scene for a while, he did gain the attention of WWE during a show at Harley Race's World League Wrestling. After spending less than a year in WWE's developmental territory, he did request his release and never looked back, turning down several follow-up attempts by WWE to sign him.
Oh, they really wanted him in 2012.
I mean, it's Kenny Omega.
Everybody wants him. I mean, everybody does. It's not just, I mean, I know we talk about it because it's WWE and that's sort of the big guy, at least in terms of, you know, draw and major money and stuff like that. But everybody wants Kenny Omega.
They wanted him, but Vince wanted him because he said no. If
Right.
he didn't say no to Vince would be like, oh, well, you're just a generic wrestler. I can get 100 other guys to replace you. But
Well, yeah, you talk about that all the time, how Vince wants people just so other people can't have
Well, yeah,
them.
or like there's the old adage that says Vince can't have you, so he wants you. But once he has you, well, now he's not going to use you.
Yep. Hello, Cedric.
Ooh. Von Hausen?
I'll say half the
There it is,
fucking
ladies
roster.
and gentlemen. Our first Cedric Von Hausen reference.
They make such a
in
big
season
deal
2.
about all these big gets. Oh, they got Bobby Roode. Oh, they got Samoa Joe, Finn Balor. Like, what the fuck are they doing right now?
Oh, well, Finn Balor's going to have a nice little program in NXT, I think, now.
Yeah, Finn Balor, who should be like on the top right now, but he's like in NXT because they couldn't get ratings.
Okay, that's another story for another day. Let's get back to Kenny Omega.
But no, really, Kenny Omega is so special because he has the most unique wrestling style. So he tried to find a career in mixed martial arts, entered a few Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments before returning to pro wrestling, and so that helped him mold the style that we see now. And that's what helped him rise to prominence in the indie scene with runs in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Dramatic Dream Team, all that stuff. Because around that time, Omega became captivated by Japanese wrestler Kota Ibushi, who is on our list.
figure.
We've already covered him.
Yeah.
Who's also his like best friend in real life.
the guy who accompanies him to the ring in this match. But
Right.
Continue.
But this is where that relationship started. So he was watching Kota on Dramatic Dream Team, DDT Wrestling. It's a Japanese promotion. He sent videos of himself having DDT-style matches via YouTube and in hopes that Ibushi would gain interest and start working with him. And so after seeing the videos, Omega made his first appearance for the promotion in August 2008, and he stated that wrestling in Japan has been one of his dreams as the local scene really appealed to his creative side. Because that's the thing about Japanese wrestling. There's a lot more creativity going on. It's also geared towards the sportsman-like style. I mean, everything in Japan is over the top. And have you seen a Kenny Omega promo? Have you? So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's something that we talked about when we did Nakamura and Ibushi is just kind of the difference in sort of the way it's presented for New Japan in general as more of a legitimate sport than say WWE or anything else.
And the way our commentary team of Don Callis and Kevin Kelly call it, very sports broadcast.
Very sure. Very much so.
And Omega started as a junior heavyweight and worked his way up the ranks while feuding with none other than Prince Devitt.
Go figure.
All of Omega's success and popularity led up to him eventually becoming the first non-Japanese man to win the 2016 G1 Climax tournament, earning an opportunity at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 11. So let's stop there for a moment, though. Let's talk about Kazuchika Okada. Okada is currently enjoying his 5th reign as IWGP Heavyweight Champion. His 4th reign with the championship is the longest in history at 720 days. He also holds the record for most successful title defenses at 12. Okada is the real deal. Trained by Ultimo Dragon, Okada spent his formative years learning in Mexico before landing in NJPW in the mid-2007. Much like Omega, Okada initially competed in the junior heavyweight division. However, his eventual move to the heavyweight division was met with limited success. Okada would eventually make his way over to the States, wrestling briefly for TNA before returning to NJPW in 2012 as the Rainmaker. His resiliency frustrated his opponents, as it seems that no matter what they did, Okada still has gas left in the tank.
Oh, and we see a lot of that in this upcoming match.
Yeah, I mean, his offense,
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
incredible. It hits so hard. He's able to produce short, controlled burst of power,
Oh, yeah.
unlike anything you've ever seen.
Seemingly out of nowhere.
All with a great head of hair.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That's
the whole
good
time.
blonde hair. I mean,
And can't we just say, Okada, handsomest man in wrestling?
He's unpredictable and unbreakable, and that's what makes the Rainmaker. So
I'm hyped up already.
the-
I'm ready to go.
The new and improved Okada quickly rose to prominence, defeating Tanahashi for the NJPW Heavyweight Championship and winning the G1 Climax tournament and earning the title of MVP of all Japanese wrestling from Tokyo Sports Magazine.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is as soon as he comes back. It's crazy how his rise to prominence in professional wrestling. And it hasn't even stopped. Winning the heavyweight championship on multiple occasions since then, winning his 2nd G1 Classic, headlining inside the Tokyo Dome 5 times between 2013 and 2018. In 2017, Okada became the first Japanese wrestler to top Pro Wrestling Illustrated's list of the top 500 wrestlers in the world. Mm-hmm. He's regarded as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time.
With good reason.
I'd like to hear the argument against it.
Right.
And so these two guys were on a collision course.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, Omega's victory at the G1 Climax, it was all set up for Okada, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship champion, to defend against Omega. And Omega says something very interesting. Everything you have was given to you by this company. That's not to say that you haven't been a good champion. You protected Japanese wrestling. But I am taking the main event of Tokyo Dome, and I'm going to take everything you treasure. Okada's response. He is resilient. He keeps getting back up no matter what. But on the other hand, I believe that's what he thinks of me too. So right off the bat, it's mutual respect between these two guys. They know that they are in for a fight, and I think going in, they kind of knew already they were going to have the greatest wrestling match of all time. Omega knew he was fighting an uphill battle here. He decided to focus on Okada's midsection and his back to try and break him down from the core. Because, I mean, he knew the longer the match went, the longer it favored the champion.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
After what was widely regarded as one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, Omega was defeated by Okada.
So score that 1-0 Okada.
At this point, it's 1-0 Okada. During the contest, Kenny never hits the one-winged angel.
Nope.
Leaving the fans wondering the whole time,
What happened if he would have hit it?
what happens?
Yeah.
After the match, Omega declares if they have a rematch, he isn't afraid to bet his life that he would beat Okada in the rematch. After making his 5th successful title defense, Okada nominates Omega as his next challenger for the championship rematch at Dominion 2017. The match was the first match in 12 years to end in a 60-minute time limit draw. And again, Omega does not hit the one-winged angel.
So score that 1-0 and 1 for Okada.
Having already faced Okada twice, Omega's best hope at challenging Okada now would be by winning the 2017 G1 Climax. But guess who else decided to enter the 2017 G1 Climax? during the tournament, Kenny would finally pick up a victory over Okada in a non-title match.
Score that. 1-1-1 each.
And guess what he hit?
One-winged angel.
I mean, talk about this long-form storytelling. Like, did they know what they were doing or what?
It's just completely and utterly baffling to me. Like it's the best. I mean, it's the best. I mean, everything that you just said made all the sense in the world.
Well, it's unprecedented, right? 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw for each man. Who is the better guy?
Well, we don't know. That's why we have this ultimate rubber match.
But they did play the long game here. Neither man won the G1 Climax. So Okada and Omega did go their separate ways for a while. Omega became the first ever IWGP US champion, and Okada became the longest reigning IWGP champion of all time. Okada would also go on to tie Hiroshi Tanahashi's record of 11 title defenses. So Tanahashi took exception to that, as JR would say, and challenged him.
Oh, yes.
Which set up the beautiful moment as Okada breaks Tanahashi's record by defeating the man himself.
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a match we may end up talking about in this podcast as well.
Coming into this match, Okada is 17-2-2 since November 2016. So he's had 21 matches, only lost 2 of them.
Insane.
Right. Totally baffling, but it speaks to, again, that presentation of sport and realism. You know, talking about win-loss records. You know, talking about how he's had 12 now successful title defenses. Talking about how in the first 3 contests between Omega and Okada, they wrestled for a combined 2 hours and 11 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Come on. I mean, it's great. It's so good.
I mean, after beating Tanahashi, which was the equivalent of, John Cena wrestling Ric Flair to win his 17th world championship, after that accomplishment, he had seemingly nothing left to accomplish in his career. I mean, like you just said, that record alone, you could just retire. But Okada still had one thing left, eating him alive. He had to beat Kenny Omega. But it couldn't be just any match. Hell no. They were not walking out of there with another draw. So at Dominion, June 9th, 2018 in Osaka, Japan, Kenny Omega challenged Kazuchika Okada in a 2 out of 3 falls match with no time limit in the same arena as their previous bout that went the distance.
You know, during their entrances, and I can't remember if it was Don Callis or Kevin Kelly that said this. He said, one is walking out with no doubt who the greatest wrestler in the world is. And that's what this whole thing was about. Which man is the greatest wrestler alive on this planet? And listen, WWE can have as many best in the world tournaments as they want. None of them feel as like actual, like we're actually about to find out who the greatest wrestler in the world is than this moment right here.
And holy shit, that title reel. Spencer, you talk about these awesome title reels that set up championship matches where the title flashes across the screen. Did you notice the one for this match?
Oh, I did. I did.
It's the most beautiful one I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the belt itself is gorgeous.
Yeah, we've talked at length about how much we love that belt.
Not only is the belt gorgeous, but it's the 720th day it's been around the waist of Okada.
Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't have much on the last match standing championship belt, but
which I'm
it's
wearing.
Pretty good. It does belong to you. It has never been worn by Landon. But
you're wrong for that.
The point remains, it's beautiful. To your point, Landon, you're absolutely right. It's gorgeous, and it could not possibly feel like a bigger moment than it does.
I 100% agree. And it does come full circle, as we discussed before. Ibushi follows Kenny out. And, it's easy to say that Kenny would never have been there if Ibushi had not.
Return to the podcast, Kota Ibushi.
Right, and they call Omega during his entrance the best bout machine.
Wow.
That's pretty good. And Omega, by the way, who looks like he was cut out of stone.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Like I don't know the last time I've seen anybody in that good a
pretty
shape.
sure that all the facts that we heard about him are false. What happened is Kota Ibushi just went to ancient Greece, looked at a statue and said, "Whew," and it just came to life. And he taught that statue how to wrestle, and that's Kenny Omega.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the only addition is that they threw some spaghetti on top of the head.
Some ramen.
Yeah, some ramen.
How about Okada's robe?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, rivaling Ric Flair.
I'd say.
I mean, I just said this match is like, it's like 29 years after Ric Flair and Steamboat. Like, look.
It's just gorgeous, and it goes with the belt, and it feels like this is the biggest deal. This is the biggest setup for a wrestling match, and I'm jealous of every person who bought a ticket to that show.
Yeah, you're not kidding, because they saw history, right? And just to kind of reframe it for you, like Paul said, it's Don Callis and Kevin Kelly on commentary for this match, and then the referee making his second appearance on our list.
The only man who could call the action in this match.
Red Shoes Uno. That's absolutely right.
And to honor him, I myself am wearing red shoes right now.
Hey, you really are wearing red shoes. Well done.
I thought you were just channeling Judy Garland. But so the commentary team does say as they're walking out, they could go all night. They could go till tomorrow. And guys, it almost did. I kind of wish it did.
Oh, whenever I put the match on from the New Japan Network, from like their service, I looked at you, said, how long is this match? You said, that's an hour. I said, this segment's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this 2 out of 3 falls stipulation, because here's the thing. Like, these guys have faced each other 3 times for over 2 hours, like we've talked about. But now all of a sudden, you're going to tell me that I have to beat the other guy twice in one match?
Twice. No time limit.
I mean, it's just...
It's something that neither man had done.
Right.
Neither man had beaten someone twice. And so now they were being asked to do it in one match. It's incredible.
It is. It's really the perfect climax, if you will.
Did you notice how Okada's demeanor? So if you look at the two from the moment they walk in to the moment the bell rings, and honestly, to the moment the bell rings at the end of the match, Omega's demeanor versus Okada's demeanor were almost polar opposites.
Yeah.
Okada is calm
Oh, yeah.
from start to finish.
He didn't even sweat. He's just there.
He's just there. He's a powerhouse. He doesn't. He shows no sense of worry at all that he's going to lose this match. He seems so confident. He's the confident champion. Did you see Omega's face before the match? What do I always say about these great moments where these two guys are staring off and there's one guy looks determined?
Yeah.
It's determination.
It is.
And that's what builds great stories in the ring.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've talked about some of the best moments is that face off in the very beginning. You know what I mean? And you know, when you think about classic face offs, you think, you know, Rock Hogan is obviously really, really classic. Andre Hogan, and there's a million other ones. But you look at this one, and it's just these two characters. You know, I don't think there could be enough said about just the characters that these two guys are. You know, there's personality forever. You know, and it's just, this is the match where you have your guy, right? Like you're picking a side. And you're not, I don't care who wins. No, there is, either want Omega or you want Okada, and that's it.
Oh yeah, if you like invested any time into this story, you like are going into one. I want to see Okada fucking kill him, or other side, I want to see Omega embarrass him.
Yeah, and at the very jump from the match, Kevin Kelly says the crowd is solidly behind the god of wrestling, Omega.
Fucking
I'm
love
sorry, that was Don Callis, but yeah.
I mean, leave it to the Jackal to say something like that.
Right. So isn't that interesting that in Osaka, Japan, the crowd is solidly behind Omega?
Well, you've seen him do all of these things that are absolutely unprecedented.
It speaks to the respect they have for him.
Yeah. So the match starts off pretty much as you would expect.
I don't know. I expected like this insane high pace beginning, and they don't really do that. There is a lot of feeling out, and I had to remind myself, oh, wait a minute, I'm watching Japan. So there's always going to be that filling out moment.
Well, I mean, when you're watching something that you know is going to go the distance,
Oh, yeah.
right? You know these guys have gone over an hour before. I didn't expect it to be that way. I think they knew that pacing was going to be very
Oh,
important.
yeah. But, like, when I say, like, it's not a slow affair.
No, not at all.
No.
They do not slow down at all.
There is a 5-minute process, though, about 5 minutes or so in the beginning, where it is that feeling out process.
Yeah, there's a lot of takedowns. There's a lot of like waist locks, but it's not. We talked about this a lot during Eddie and Ray. They will grab a hold. They don't just sit in that hold for 2 minutes.
Right.
Like they are doing shit. They are moving around. We're watching this match, and I'm like, oh look, they're doing fucking like lucha spots here, where they're doing like cartwheels and backflips to get out of locks. I'm like, we haven't seen that since fucking Owen Hart. And I remember I looked at you and said, why does nobody do this anymore? It's so simple.
Did you see Kenny yank the arm in the hammerlock?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you see people put a hammerlock on and then they'll rest for 5 minutes.
Yeah, or you're Kenny Omega and you try to break someone's arm.
He's yanking at it the whole time. I'm like, ow, stop it.
He's trying to break his fucking arm. And then like Okada immediately turns into a heel hold. I'm like, and then Omega's like, oh yeah? Where's my heel? If you can't see, and he tries to rip his eyes out. I'm like, good God.
And you get the mind games from Okada early on in the corner, trying to insert his dominance.
He's walked up and just starts patting him on the back.
And
Oh,
then
I love that so much.
immediately returned by Omega.
And Omega just pats him on the chest.
And that's kind of when Omega does it in return, that's when the match starts to change.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because then both men get put out of the ring.
Well, Kenny goes for the one-winged angel barely 5 minutes of the match, and they both spill over that top rope. I go, oh my God, please. And then we get, hands down, the most vicious barricade spot in the history of professional wrestling. It was so vicious that even you, Spencer, had to go, well, damn.
You know, I was going to say that. I'm actually glad you said that because, I hate a barricade spot. I do. They're the
this
worst.
was like the barricade spot to end all barricade spots.
But with that said, this one was pretty brutal. I
was
agree.
convinced that Kenny broke his ribs. Like, there's no way.
So you have the barricade spot, and then I think this is a point that might have been a little bit later in the match, but they're outside, and this has to speak to the pacing of the match. They do inside of the ring, outside of the ring, and they go back and forth a good bit. And there's a lot to do with that. And one of the things they do is Okada flies over the guardrail,
God.
clips his knee, and catches Omega's knee to his face.
Oh, yeah, he's going for a crossbody, and you're right. His foot hits the barricade, but Kenny does a V-trigger. And because he got caught in the barricade, I was convinced that he's dead.
I would have checked on him.
Oh, God.
No doubt.
The impact, I think he actually got knocked out.
So, with that first time, we're talking about that barricade spot. And by the way, inevitably, I will call it a knee trigger. It is very much a V trigger, but for some reason in my brain, I can't not call it an. Okay,
It's
Because
also
you
a knee
love
trigger.
William Regal.
is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. So, so Omega does this. It does the V trigger, which is something we'll see repeatedly throughout the match, right? To Okada, who's leaping at him, and that's when Omega gets slammed, like it's a scoop slam onto the barricade, and that's where you're talking about. It looks like Omega, busts his ribs, all that.
And to be fair, like later in the match, his ribs are purple.
Yeah, they really are.
Mm-hmm.
I love the New Japan ring.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
So good. That extended apron.
It's gorgeous. There's an extended apron, so they know people are doing spots on that apron. Come on. Clean ropes. It doesn't look like they just wrapped them up in duct tape 5 minutes ago.
No.
The turnbuckle pad is...
It's like a boxing style. It's the long pad.
I love that. It just looks cleaner than, having three.
Yeah, it does. It's like it's the pad, and because like oftentimes they'll have people in their corners.
And you know what I really loved? The logos on the ring.
Oh yeah, I love that too.
I mean, it adds to the realism. They're treating it like a sport because
Yeah.
it is a sport.
Right.
It's the greatest sport.
And this match it's everything a wrestling match should be.
Oh yeah,
It's sportsmanship, pacing, best friends at ringside, chain wrestling, dives, barricade spots, loudest chops you'll ever hear in your life.
Okay. So there's a point where they just start trading chops, and I didn't realize how big Kenny Omega's hands were. He chops Okada so hard that it breaks the sound barrier.
Ugh.
Well, here's the thing. It's this moment where this is right after Okada is asking for more Omega kicks.
Oh, yeah. He's kicking.
And
He's
so
just
they go
taking
from
them.
kicks to those chops. And because of the way that a Japanese crowd is relatively silent throughout a match, it echoes
I mean, Big Show.
through Osaka-jo Hall. It echoes.
Yeah, Big Show dreams that he could chop somebody this loud.
It was awesome. I mean, it looks painful as hell, but it's awesome.
Oh, well, the handprint that was on the Okada's chest the rest of the match tells me it was very painful. And then we get the Hurricane Rana by Omega.
Ken, because it was Kenny.
Kenny.
I actually
Kenny,
appreciate
Kenny
that
did
one.
it.
Oh, yeah, we get a ridiculous sequence like Hurricane Rana, springboard crossbody off over the barricade from the top rope. When have you ever seen somebody do that?
Springboard crossbody. I mean, he clears the barricade.
He clears the fifth row.
In the fifth row.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, those fans just clear out of there.
Well, actually, I love how New Japan, they have like the ringside barricade, and then they have like another little gap so that you can crowd brawl and not land on the fans, which in a WWE show would be the fifth row, and that's where he fucking lands.
How about the German suplex with the high angle bridge?
That was a reversal, too,
Yep.
by Okada. And it's gorgeous.
Like stiffest German suplex I've ever seen. It's like in slow motion, like a whoa, bam.
And it's kind of not that the commentary is being heard by the wrestlers in the ring, but it's almost in response to Don Callis saying Omega has wrestled a perfect match so far, because he goes for a move and Okada reverses it into that German suplex.
So scary.
But God, I mean, it's just everything is stiff and high impact.
And then we get something that I forgot about. I forgot that Okada does the tombstone. Because we get a jumping tombstone onto the apron.
You know, it feels like to me that Omega was kind of in control of this match for 10 or so minutes.
And
but Okada, anytime it felt like it was close to really favoring Omega, he recaptured that momentum. And he does it with that tombstone.
I just said tombstone. He did a tombstone after he reversed a dragon suplex attempt off the top rope.
That's the thing. So Kenny tries for the Snapdragon off the rope, which he was able to hit in a previous match. So you have when you have these rivalries like this, you can have those wonderful callbacks to the oh shit moments from previous matches. But then you're able to tell that story. It's like, oh, I remember you doing that. Check out my counter. How about a jumping tombstone on the apron?
And that was the first time I jumped out of my fucking chair.
Not to mention, immediately after, Okada drop kicks Omega off the apron once he's standing back up. And guess where he lands? Ribs first onto the barricade.
And he sells those ribs too. Maybe he's not even trying to sell. It's just, it hurt.
Then we got like a missile drop kick, like right onto like Kenny's chin.
And it's the stiffest top rope missile drop kick I've ever seen.
And then you just see Ibushi.
Ever.
Ibushi gets up on the apron. He's holding the towel.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to see his friend suffer.
I mean, it's just everything about it. Everybody involved is selling the hell out of the match.
Yeah, because it's the biggest thing that's ever happened ever. I mean, that's what it looks like when you're watching this match. You know, not to be outdone, Omega gets another chance actually to hit a drop kick on Okada. And he does it to the back of his head.
Yes.
And I thought, I really thought Okada's drop kick was the stiffest thing I've ever seen. Omega said, hold my beer, because it was that much more stiff.
Oh, you think it was a receipt?
There's a lot of receipts in this match.
Maybe they're not even receipts. Maybe they're just like, this is how they do it over there. Like,
yeah, that must be it. I don't know, man. It's just brutal.
And then there's a point where Kenny goes for a dive, and it's just, he has the most incredible momentum I've ever seen going over the top rope for a flip senton. It was beautiful.
And it's just pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
Exactly where he needed to be, rotates at the right time. It's
And that's when Kevin Kelly says, Rise of the Terminator in Osaka. And at this point, we're 25 minutes into the match, right? So no falls yet. We're 25 minutes in. And these guys finally get back into the ring, and we have Omega go for another V-trigger, right? But it's reversed into an electric chair and then the German suplex by Omega.
So crazy.
They find ways to reverse each other. I mean, obviously they've had 3 matches with
And that's
each other.
the first pin attempt, 25 minutes in.
Right. Exactly.
First one.
Off of that insane reversal.
Not long after that, we get a second tombstone in the center of the ring, which we do get the first fall to Okada. And normally, I remember I said this to you, Lennon, normally when we have an Iron Man match or 2 out of 3 falls, like, we will now be entering the 2-minute rest period. Normally, I would call bullshit, but we're 32 minutes in. I'm like, yo, dear God, please give him more than 2 minutes to rest.
Yeah, they have a 2-minute rest after the first fall. I thought the first fall was from a surprise leg trap pin from Okada.
It was.
Yeah.
So Okada does hit that tombstone, but Omega kicks out. And when he gets back up, Omega tries to have some offense, and Okada reverses it into a roll up. So that is how the first
the
one.
way he did the leg trap was really, really cool.
Right, it was really, really cool. But it's so interesting that we've done one fall and neither guy has hit their finisher yet. You know, Omega has tried several times.
Yeah, he's gone for one winged angel 3 times now. All
Right.
3 times it's been reversed.
And so the crowd, I mean, you can tell with every reversal, the crowd is just wanting it more and more because remember, they are fully behind Omega, it seems like. And so Okada, who was the confident champion going in, he's up 1-0. Imagine how confident he is now.
Oh, yeah. I love this because he just has Geto in his corner, like fanning off the towel. They're trying, and then Ibushi runs in and he just pours an entire bottle of water on Kenny's, rubbing his shoulders like, hey, pal, you okay? You need to get back into this. He's going to beat you.
Yeah, and during that 2-minute break period, the commentary team is really selling now this mountain that Omega's got to climb.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like he's only beat him once in their last 3
Oh,
attempts. Yeah. How in the world is he going to beat him twice now in back-to-back falls? I mean, Kenny Omega has really got an uphill climb.
Because like Okada is like standing in the corner being fanned with a towel. He's not even breathing heavy. He's ready to go. And now you have Omega in the middle of the ring, just like, shit, I fucked up. What am I going to do?
Well, as the match goes on, Omega is looking worn down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a point where he's crawling back to the ring after a count of 8. And he gets in, and when he tries to throw some punches, Okada just absorbs.
He just takes it. He just stands there.
Everything. Omega is able to deliver a double stomp on a table, though.
Oh man,
Do you remember this moment?
I
Yeah.
Because
do. I
I remember.
do. I.
it's is it on the outside?
Yeah, and it's a callback to the same thing happened in it might have been their first match with that table spot. But yeah, the table goes on top of Okada, and Omega dives from the apron on. It's just nasty,
Scary.
Super safe, but
Yeah, totally
it
fine.
looks awesome.
Yeah,
And one thing, I think Paul and I watched this together.
We did.
One of the great rule differences from New Japan, there's no such thing as a double count out.
No. If both men are in the ring, there's no count.
I had no idea about that, but Paul mentioned it because you see they're both down outside, and the ref doesn't start counting until one of them gets back in the ring.
right.
And it is a 20 count.
Now, he does go out of the ring. He's like, hey, guys, get back in the ring. He's pleading to get back in the ring, but he's not going to count them out, especially not in a championship match. That's not going to happen. And for good fucking reason.
You can hear Omega once he gets Okada back in the ring. He just yells, "You can't escape." And so this confident Okada that we've had this whole match is now sort of being replaced by a very confident Kenny Omega, who has suddenly got control and is looking to capitalize and possibly take the second fall. And Kevin Kelly says a year ago, it was the drop kicks of Okada that made the difference. This year, it's the chops by Kenny Omega.
And almost to reflect that language of the "you can't escape." He says that multiple times
Right.
throughout the match.
Oh, yeah.
And the first fall is from a leg trap pin. And so that, you really feel that coming across. There's also a moment where we get a leg trap superplex.
Oh, my God.
This is 10 minutes into the second fall.
By the way, this is the second time I jumped out of my chair.
I mean, it's just insane. When's the last time you've heard the words leg trap superplex?
I don't know if I've ever
I've heard
those words.
leg trap suplex,
Yeah.
not superplex.
It's incredible.
And that was Omega on Okada. Omega goes for a moonsault, and he misses. So at this point, it's kind of feeling to me like neither one of these two men can really put anything together. You know, they're hitting one or two moves at a time, but there's no like string of moves. There's no like dominant control.
As soon as you get like one or two moves, there's a cutoff. And it's not just like he didn't do it. It's like, oh, no, I'm going to reverse like a leg trap superplex. Oh, because he was going for the nope, fuck you, superplex.
Which helps tell a fascinating story.
Oh yeah, they're evenly matched.
There is a moment where Kenny sees a table on the outside, perhaps the same table as before, and he decides it would be a great idea to dragon suplex Okada through the table to the outside from the apron. Perfect.
But what actually ends up happening, Landon?
Okada is able to escape before it happens, but instead takes a poison Rana onto the outside.
And I'm just like, I remember thinking, what?
I'm dead. They're dead. Everyone's dead.
Right, and you think that it's actually possible because Omega gets himself back in the ring, and so since there's one person in the ring, Red Shoes Uno decides to start counting. And, you know, typically when there's like a count out, you're thinking they're going to get in at 9 or, you know, like when it's a 10 count. But with it being a 2 out of 3 falls match, it's super believable that maybe the second fall is going to be by count out. So when Okada gets in at the count of 19, the crowd is like, oh, you know, like,
yes, like,
oh
no,
my gosh,
not like this.
Yeah, and the second he gets into the ring, you're thinking, oh, man, he's got nothing left. He just got in the ring at 19. How about another V-trigger from Omega to knock his head off?
Yeah. And
like, welcome back to the ring, buddy.
Oh, yeah. And then he goes for the 4th attempt of the One Wing Angel, but it gets reversed into another third tombstone.
The third jumping tombstone. So just when you think Omega's got the second fall in the bag, Okada's right back at it with a jumping tombstone.
He does the tombstone, and then he collapses. Because now Okada is starting to show like, okay, it's been like 45 minutes now.
Yeah,
he's
not
starting
able to
get
capitalize.
tired. Right.
There's so many big moves, and then they collapse because oh man, like just like the sheer amount of time, all the damage is done. Like no matter how fit you are, you cannot maintain that pace for 45 minutes.
Not at the level these guys are performing.
No.
It's incredible. But they do. Somehow they do.
Yeah, here we are.
Because they go for another 27 minutes.
Well, there's a moment where Okada goes for the Rainmaker, and it's reversed into the most beautiful Uranagi I've ever seen in my entire life. Omega jumps and lifts Okada and twists in midair, and it's the hardest slam down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, The Rock wishes he could do the rock bottom like that.
It was, oh, man, now I'd love to see The Rock versus Kenny Omega.
It could happen.
Again,
Yeah.
The Rock will
it's
tear three
past
muscles
when it would have
again.
been good, but
Yeah.
but you know it could have been entertaining for sure. But you're right. It's one of these incredible reverses, right? Okada going for the Rainmaker. I get what they call a spike Uranagi because that's how impactful it really, really is. And again, Omega looks like he could do it, so he power bombs Okada.
The streak begins anew.
The season 2 powerbomb streak. Yeah.
To set up the powerbomb, did you see the highest drop kick of all time?
Oh man,
Yeah, I was
you're
like,
so
what
right.
the fuck?
You are so right.
He essentially kicked over his head.
Yeah,
it was
it's
that
scary.
high.
It's like, Bob Holly, take note. That's how you do a drop kick.
And that's how you do a powerbomb.
And that's
Oh,
how you do
yeah.
a powerbomb. And it's a kick out. It's just another Okada kick out. And we get another Okada kick out after a butterfly suplex
Yeah,
that
beautiful. Like,
spikes Okada on the mat.
we got like a double underhook pile driver by Kenny Omega, and then we get a V trigger, and finally, the 5th attempt of the One Wing Angel lands. And what happens?
That's 3 count, buddy.
There it is. Omega's tied this thing up at 1.
Tie game, and we're 52 minutes in.
And instantly, during that 2-minute break period, Don Callis says, Okada's never kicked out of that move.
Yeah, but what I love about this is now Kenny, after he gets the pin, he's sitting up, but Okada is laying face down on the mat and does not get up before the two. Like, Ghetto is there, like trying to pick him up. Please get up, pouring the water, slapping him like, please, you have to get up.
during the 2-minute break, they actually zoom in on Okada.
He's on another plane of
Pretty
existence.
sure he was out cold. He's
Oh,
on
yeah.
another plane of existence.
Yeah,
He's gone.
It's a fascinating 2-minute break period. You know, like you don't. How many times do you say that, right? But it was really, really interesting.
Kenny's getting water. He's like getting toweled off, getting like massaged.
Don
ready to go.
Callis says because Red Shoes Uno is out of the ring at this point, and Don Callis says, "Why is Red Shoes out here with us?" And Kevin Kelly says he's just grabbing some water. Nothing wrong with that.
It's been almost an
Right.
hour.
But when they're ready to start that third fall, Ghetto is stalling,
Yeah, because Okada is unconscious.
and Don Callis says this is bullshit.
Yeah.
He does.
He does.
And
That's
I
what he
agree.
says, because it feels like that Okada's not ready for this third fall. And how interesting is it that 2 falls into this match, we had Okada who won his first fall with a roll up,
Yes.
essentially, and Omega with his fall off of his finisher, off the One Wing Angel. So you think about that. Think about the confidence Omega must have, not especially since he just won the most recent fall, going into that third and final fall.
And one of the things I found really fun about this 2-minute segment, when they're zooming in on Okada, you can actually see Omega's boot print
Yes, he's got
on
this
his chin
Oh man.
from that high angle drop kick. So the third part of the match, this is it. The sudden death. Kenny almost immediately goes for another one-winged angel. Okada does get out and hits a beautiful Rainmaker.
Oh, and I just like eat your heart out, JBL. Like that is a clothesline from hell.
But
My God.
the way he delivers it, Kenny flips completely over and his leg hits Okada on the way down. So now it's impossible for him to capitalize. And still, this is 50 minutes into the match. Kenny is desperate, but if you watch Okada, he's stoic. He's still confident.
Let it be noted, mind you, that we are, like we said, 50 plus minutes into this match, and both men have hit their finisher one time.
Yes.
Singular. One time.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of, they hit other men's finishers.
Oh, they did.
Because Kenny Omega hits the Styles Clash.
Love that.
Little hat tip for the Bullet Club there.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And this is after Omega gets Irish whipped by Okada and doesn't even make it to the turnbuckle because he just falls.
He collapses. Yeah,
he just falls, but he comes back with that Styles Clash, which was awesome.
But immediately, like he just knew where he was. Okada gets those ropes immediately. Like, okay. And then we have what I call the super V trigger.
Oh, are you referring to the V trigger to the back of the head?
Yes.
Yeah. Ow.
But what happens? Kenny is exhausted. He can't even. He goes for another one. He just can't do it.
Well, it's the ribs. Those ribs that were injured earlier in the match. I mean, if you think about what it takes to lift someone up for the one-winged angel, it's you put him on your shoulders.
Yeah, V trigger. He goes to pick him up and then immediately drops him. He cannot do the one winged angel. He's just too tired.
And that's where Kevin Kelly says that wasn't an Okada counter, Don. That was an Omega collapse.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't pick him up.
But he is able to hit instead another 3 words that you never hear. How about a package tombstone pile driver?
And then we get the closest like count ever. Like you always hear this. Oh, he kicked it at 2.5. This was like kicked it at 2.9 repeating.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure Red Shoes did hit the 3, but that wasn't the end of the match. So they just kept
It
going.
was pretty close.
They should have replay. His shoulder was totally up before 3, but
Yeah.
I don't know how he timed that because his eyes were shut.
We have a Phoenix Splash that happens
So actually,
immediately following this.
Ibushi tells Kenny to
Yeah.
go for the Phoenix Splash because that's his move. And he's just like, I know exactly what you need to do. This is what you... And it's interesting, though, because it doesn't do it for him. And Okada is able to capitalize after this and goes for the Rainmaker, but he then collapses.
Yeah, like he hits the Rainmaker, but like he can't follow through. Like he hits it, but like he collapses, and Kenny just kind of stumbles back.
But what I love about this though is he collapses, and so they both, hit. Essentially, they hit each other with everything that they had. And then the referee starts a double count. And it scared me to death.
Me too.
You're like, no. You're like, surely no.
No, you cannot end like this.
But Okada collapsing while he's trying to deliver the Rainmaker is really, really interesting.
Can't follow through.
Because it's a callback to one of their previous matches when Okada was trying to hit the Rainmaker on Omega and Omega collapsed, so he couldn't hit it. So look, just that little nugget. I mean, just
they're able to bring these pieces together to tell one overall tapestry of their rivalry together. It's really amazing. And both of these guys are tired at this point. It's been damn near an hour, and there's no time limit, so there's no end in sight. What else could they possibly have left?
At this point, I looked at you and said, they've been through a war.
They have.
it's not over yet.
It's just crazy that Okada is able to remain so confident. And he does, at this point, it's all about risk control for Okada, because that's how, it's the only way he can hit the Rainmaker. Is he's essentially has to hang on to Kenny to stay up himself.
He holds it like it basically it's like a short arm clothesline version of it, but he does it
and he uses the momentum.
He uses that momentum, and then he knocks Kenny into another plane of existence, because they do a close up of Kenny and his eyes, like he looks like a doll. There's nobody in there.
And he goes for a third, but Omega is able to reverse with a German suplex and holds onto the waist. Hits a second, but Okada breaks the third and hits a German of his own, holds on, traps Kenny's wrist, goes for a Rainmaker, Kenny ducks under, and gets his third German. That exchange
Beautiful.
is totally beautiful.
Can you imagine if Brock Lesnar did stuff like that with people? This was the real Suplex City.
Although, technically Brock Lesnar has held the title that they're competing for.
Yeah.
Not for 720 days.
Yeah, you could see it on the title intro. They showed the images of all the previous champions, and you saw Brock, you saw Kurt.
Yeah.
Antonio Inoki.
Oh, man, one of the all-time greats.
For sure. This in a match that has been full of the stiffest drop kicks ever. Okada just gives us one more. They're there towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
And it pretty much rivals the height that Omega got on that one earlier. It's crazy.
And just when it seems like these guys are out, like they've got nothing left to give, we get one last burst from Kenny Omega.
He hits the second one-winged angel, but he cannot capitalize. He hits it, and he collapses. He can't do it. But somehow, I don't know where this flurry comes from. He hits a V-trigger, and then he hits another one-winged angel.
And it's probably the greatest one he's ever hit.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's
the
gorgeous.
best.
He was saving it.
Right.
And then in 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 50 seconds, Kenny Omega captures the IWGP Heavyweight title.
And
Tears in his eyes.
the Bucks come out.
Young Bucks, tears in their eyes. Ibushi, everybody's crying. But my favorite moment, Okada stands up.
Yeah.
And they fucking hug.
It's the perfect way to cap off this masterpiece. Yeah. I think they knew.
Yeah, you have to, right?
I mean, Kenny telling the ref to wait before being presented with the championship. That's what gets me. I had chills. He says, just hold on a sec. And he goes over to Matt and Nick. I just about busted out crying. I mean,
they all had tears in their eyes.
Well, it's the biggest moment there was. I mean, it was it cannot be understated how monumental of a deal it was.
I got to say, Kota Ibushi, that's a handsome man, but he's an ugly crier. Oh, he's trying so hard not to. Looks like he's like he's struggling. And whenever Kenny hugs him, he just lets it out. It's so beautiful moment though. And then I didn't realize Kenny was going to do this, but he gives a 10-minute promo.
And he's not a promo guy. is the thing. So
Yeah.
anytime you give Kenny Omega the mic, he's extremely eccentric, and he definitely fits in over in Japan, just the way he's able to be over the top and this great character. But the speech he gives it in Japanese and then in English.
Well, that's
So
what he
good.
says. He said he gives it. Said, but since this is an international company, perhaps I have to do this part in English.
But he's interrupted, isn't he?
Yes, he is. By one Mr. Cody Rhodes.
That's Cody and Brandy Rhodes. It's a lot of fun to see where, like where it's going from here, kind of. Because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the,
Yeah, you
the
can
implication.
Yeah.
And man, look at where we are now.
Isn't that fascinating?
Like this is what
A year and a half ago.
a year and a half later. Look at where we are.
Yeah. So interesting, right?
Incredible. Thank you, Okada Omega, for setting all of this up for us, right? Because that's what this is. If that match didn't happen, do we have AEW?
Probably not.
It's a question.
I don't think so.
It is a question. I think other things might have happened to make it inevitable, but this is a match that makes it almost something that the fans refuse to let die.
Oh, pretty much.
You know what I mean?
Good point.
But I gotta say, after watching this match 5 times, because I was obsessed with finding botches,
That would be 5 hours and 20 minutes, just in case anyone was curious.
the closest thing to a botch in this match is Okada catching his foot in the barricade. But I'm convinced that wasn't planned.
This is the closest thing to a perfect match as you will ever see.
This is flawless.
Flawless is the word I use. as
They
well.
they don't make any mistakes. There's never a point where, like, what do we do now? Everything is done with purpose. Everything is done with precision. Even the stiff shots, you're like, well, they're fine because this is a wrestling match. No one's hurting each other. No one slips on the rope. No one trips. No one cracks out in the head with the wrong side of a chair. It's perfect.
It's incredible. So what are some of our favorite moments from the match?
Every jumping tombstone.
Oh, man.
Love those.
I mean, I basically mentioned all my favorite, like everything that I insisted on saying was like a moment. Like,
Sure, yeah. I think looking back, that the one thing that stands out to me is the jumping, turning Uranagi. Like, what was that? I mean, it was just the most beautiful thing. It's like when you take something that you've seen 100 times, but you do it in a way that's just unexpected.
I think one thing that I really enjoyed, which is like a kind of a hindsight thing, I realized they each hit each other with their finish 3 times apiece. And I really like it's just very, very like circular storytelling. I really, really like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And twice each during the final fall.
Oh yeah, but
they can't capitalize.
But they couldn't capitalize.
Right, which is
They essentially had to
awesome.
like just pull from like the reserve of the reserves just to do the pin.
So, we have come to, for the first time in season 2, the moment where we have to rank this match, right?
Can we just relive and review and that's it?
No, we got to rank it. It's
less
our
people
job.
would be mad at us, I think.
I don't think anybody's going to be mad at the end of
Well,
this.
we'll see what happens. But, we are 20 matches in, right? So this is number 21. So the first question I have to ask, and I think I know the answer to this, but is it in the top 20?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you telling me this beats TLC 1?
Yeah.
By a mile.
Okay, all right. So it's in the top 20. What about the top 10? Number 10 right now is Nakamura and Kota Ibushi.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think it's gonna leapfrog that one.
Okay. I guess I'll ask one more. Is it in the top 5? Right now it's Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
Yes.
At number 5.
Yeah, this is gonna beat Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
Okay. So with that said, we know it's in the top 5. It's going to be a highly ranked match. But where does it fall?
Do we want to just do a little crawl up to the top, or
Yeah, let's do that. So it's gonna jump over Dunn and Bate. Number 4 currently is Brett and Owen from WrestleMania 10. Number 3 is Flair and Steamboat from Wrestle War 89. Number 2 is Hart and Austin from WrestleMania 13. And number 1 is Triple H, Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2002.
I'm going first.
Paul,
Please do.
Paul,
'Cause I don't
please
want
go
to.
first.
I don't want to go at all.
Honestly, number 1.
What is your defense?
Watch the match.
Yeah. I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Okay.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Because it's really hard to argue.
I know, right? I watched this match 5 times because I'm like, no, there's got to be something here that I'm not seeing, and there wasn't.
It's tough whenever you're throwing around words like flawless and perfect when you're describing this match. But the fact is, it was over an hour, and that is not approachable for the average viewer.
No.
And so I'm not saying that that's a criteria that we normally use, but one of the things we do say a lot when we're judging matches against each other is, which one would I go back and watch? And would I go back and watch this match before Steve Austin and Bret Hart? I don't know, because that match is more approachable.
You can watch it 3 times in the same amount.
If only because of the length. So part of me wants to put it at number 3. Spencer, what do you think?
Oh gosh, if you just sit quietly for just a moment, you can hear all of our listeners yelling. I can hear it right now, and I just want to apologize to anyone we're offending at this current moment. No, I mean the reality is for me, you're right. It's kind of flawless. It reminds me of a quote from Shawn Michaels when he was accepting the Slammy for Match of the Year for WrestleMania 25. When he said, I wrestled a perfect match. I wrestled almost a perfect match. Well, this would have been the perfect match.
This was a perfect match.
Right. It's, when I compare it to Triple H, Shawn Michaels, or Flair and Steamboat, or Hart and Austin, it's got that long form storytelling that all 3 of those have that help make it a moment that's bigger than itself. That it's going to be one of the greatest rivalries of all time. Just like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Flair and Steamboat, right? 2 of the greatest rivalries of all time. Okada, Omega absolutely fits the bill there.
I'm waiting for the but.
I don't know if there is one though. That's the thing. Like for me, there was probably 5 or more V triggers that I didn't need. Like it was just a whole lot.
We had the same discussion about the amount of arm drags in the Flair Steam.
Right? Yeah, we absolutely did. And I'm not. It's not a.
There were a lot.
It was just a lot. And I'm not saying that makes it bad or that takes away from it. It just for me, I personally didn't love that part of it. But these guys in a whole were innovative beyond all imagination. Their rubber match was really just a highlight of the rivalry as a whole. And I have no doubt in my mind that we will put another one of those other 3 matches on this list at some point. I doubt very seriously it will not make it.
I doubt we'll rank it higher than this one, but
that remains to be seen, right? But it's just a story between 2 men trying to figure out who is the best wrestler on the planet. And so when I that's kind of Flair and Steamboat. That's what they were trying to do. Similarly, someone interrupts at the end, post match, right? Because remember Flair and Steamboat, it was Terry Funk that came out. A little less dramatic with Cody. He
doesn't try to be his friend and then try to kill him.
Yeah, so I would definitely put it over Flair and Steamboat, for sure. Hart and Austin, we talk about how those 2 guys are fundamentally changed after that match. And in this match, I don't necessarily think that they're changed, Omega and Okada. I mean, they are in some instances, for sure, in some ways, but I don't think that they are...
not to the level.
Not to the same extreme, for sure. But then it's hard to compare Triple H and Shawn Michaels because that was such a personal feud. And Okada Omega is very personal.
Oh yeah.
But it's personal on a competitive level. Like, they're trying to figure out who the best is. And Triple H and Shawn Michaels, they are too, but it comes from such a different direction. And such a different
that
angle.
wasn't about who's the better wrestler. That was about, you son of a bitch, you tried to kill me because you are paranoid that you're not the greatest wrestler of all time. You're paranoid that I am, and I'm going to just kick your ass in a fight.
And this was the Okada and Omega match was, and I talked about it a little bit, on this episode already. It was everything that a pro wrestling match should be. And one of those things is, it was about who is the better wrestler in the world, who deserves to be the world champion. And it's number one. It's the greatest match of all time.
Through 21 matches.
Through 21 matches. It's
It's going to be hard to top this.
It's so hard to say otherwise.
Yeah, I'll agree. For the same reasons that we said, right? It's flawless. It checks all the boxes.
It really does. Like,
right.
Storytelling,
An incredible rivalry.
just everything about it. Even the commentary is good. It's not amazing,
But it's good.
but it's good.
And for an hour and 4 minutes, I mean, there's more than enough action to go around. It's not the same, forever Flair and Steamboat matches.
No,
that we saw,
it's
right?
they're telling such a, well, I feel like they're telling a very similar story to Flair and Steamboat, but like 29 years later, like the business had just evolved and changed so much. At that point, storytelling wasn't, he's going to come out with his wife and kid on a pony, I'm going to come out with 40 models. It's, no, I'm going to hit him with everything I have, and I'm going to take everything he has, but I'm going to outlast him. I'm going to prove that when I say I'm the best, it's not just me, it's not my ego. It's a fact. And he proved it. And I am convinced that Kenny Omega is the greatest wrestler alive today.
I'm almost just as convinced that Okada is the greatest wrestler alive today.
Repo Man.
Still sticking with Repo Man. Huh?
Sticking with him. He's my guy. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it makes sense, right? That the greatest match of all time, at least to this point for us, will have what are considered two of the greatest wrestlers alive, or the two of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
All I have to say about this match is these men just made my list of top 5 wrestlers of all time.
Definitely.
Both of them.
Yeah, that list includes Kurt and Shawn
And Daniels.
yeah, that's good. That's a good list.
Originally, well, I mean, so far everybody is made who's made on the podcast. Originally, the other two was going to be Mick Foley and The Undertaker, but
They're all on there.
they never
It's a who's
went an
who.
hour and 4 minutes and didn't lose my attention through
Yeah.
5 watches.
Yeah. It's
I-
incredible.
I do want to say that I really love Triple H Shawn Michaels, and it lasted at number 1 for a
Oh,
while.
I do too. I love that match. It's another reason why I watched it 5 times. I'm like, no, no, this can't be better.
Yeah, it's been a while. So first of all, it's been a while since we had a unanimous decision.
Yeah,
We
that's true.
all put number 1 here.
And you guys really argued it. I mean, I was like, well, I wanted to, but I couldn't think.
It's tough too.
Yeah.
Well, I think ultimately for me, even though I might watch Triple H Shawn Michaels before I'd watch this match again, I think if we're making a list of the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time, a 2 out of 3 falls match that is for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship that goes an hour and 4 minutes will get the nod over an
I
unsanctioned fight.
And to be honest, if I'm trying to get somebody into pro wrestling, I'm not going to show them this. It's too long. I would try to build them up on. If I want to get somebody into pro wrestling, I would probably show them Brett and Steve, or I would show them Triple H and Shawn, or I'd probably show them Undertaker and Kurt Angle. Like, you want to know what wrestling is? Watch this. And that match is like 1/3 the length of this one. But this is the kind of, like, once you have gotten enough of a taste for wrestling, once you've put the time in and you can sit down for longer than, say, like 30 minutes, this is definitely if you've never seen this and you're a wrestling fan, watch it.
This is a wrestling fan's wrestling match.
Oh yeah, it really
right.
is.
This is sort of the ultimate, for guys that appreciate wrestling. This is the ultimate match for that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's got everything you want. So I'm very comfortable with having it at number 1. there is only one person that might be happier than us, and that's Podcast Hitman. Now that Triple H Shawn Michaels has been dethroned.
I don't know. Plasty Josh is going to be really happy when he hears this.
That's true. But will it be the last match standing?
That stands to be seen. There's maybe one or two matches I can think of that might dethrone it. But that's another story.
Listen, and when we get down to the end of this thing, we'll have our list and we'll have the listeners' list, and we'll combine all that together. So we'll see what happens when it gets there. But I could not be more thrilled with how season 2 has started.
I'm really excited about it. We have some really fun matches coming up. We have some incredible exclusive content on Patreon. Last Mania Standing is going strong, and it is a lot of fun.
It's one of the best. I love it.
And let me just say, we just reviewed a match from a year ago. We actually recently got a request to do a match from 1978.
Yeah?
Yes.
What was it?
Marty Jones and Rollerball Rocco.
Oh, man.
And let me just say, I've seen it. If you haven't, definitely watch it.
Yeah, so maybe some exciting things to come. And we'll, of course, have Twitter polls and all that fun stuff. So get ready for a season that is going to be full of interaction and full of ranking the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.